Hello everyone, this is my audio presentation knowledge share. It's by me, of course, Ramiro Arriaga. So to start with, we'll start with week 2. We're going to skip over week 1 because I don't think week 1 really had that much prevalence in the grand scheme of things for being successful in college. So starting with week 2, it was about learning intelligences. Basically, we're all attuned to different types of learning. People grow up in a different backgrounds, different environments, different scenarios, and that kind of makes us into different people in that way and changes how our brain actually learns a lot of this stuff. Learning intelligence can be changed into different categories. As you can see here, you can either go off of the image or the whole list I put there, where it can be like kinesthetic, musical, logical, existential, everything, stuff like that. Really just means what your body's more attuned to learning, what your mind's more attuned to learning. Kinesthetic being something like a body. So maybe you're trying to learn about how to fix a car, right? Maybe you watched a video, but you can't really remember it that well. Or you talk to somebody, but God forbid you can actually keep what they said in mind. But when you actually go to do it, you're actually a lot more capable than you think you are. And when you do it that one time, it really helps keep it in your mind and keep you interested in doing what you're doing. It's one of the different types of ways that people kind of learn these things. Other ones, such as like the linguistics or the interpersonal, linguistics just means like being able to talk and express what you mean. So in any case, with linguistics, you'd be able to present and say what you mean in different ways in comparison to somebody else. Anything that you hear or that you present will be taught a lot easier to you than if somebody was more of a kinesthetic type person where they need to get really hands on with it. As I said before, the brain is attuned to learning in different ways, but it's also a muscle. That means some things will be easier to do than others if you're already more in tune to another way of doing things, such as I said before, bodily compared to something like linguistics. But as the brain is a muscle, you can train your brain to be able to go into different fields and really get better at a lot of those things. One of the things that I like to think about whenever uh, it's stuff like this is really just working on anything or trying to fix anything. You can hear it from different people. You can watch a video from it. You can read an article about it. You can do it physically, but sometimes a lot of those methods just don't work for you. Sometimes you just have to either read about it, look it up, watch a video. You can't just work on it on your own a lot of the times. And that's kind of what it is whenever you're doing something. Some people are just better at math, some people are just better at reading, but those people who really practice and really train themselves to understand that better, that muscle will grow in their brain, or that part of their brain will start to grow and understand it. Not physically, but metaphorically, it will grow. It will become better at being able to read things, learn things, work on things, all sorts of stuff. There is a quiz that I linked in the article here if you in the article in the presentation here if you really wanted to go figure out what your best type of learning intelligence is. It takes you to do a quiz and it shows kind of like the scores on your learning intelligences, seeing like what you're like lower on, whether it's interpersonal or kinesthetic. You can see where you end up with it. And a lot of the times whenever you do learn about this stuff, it's nice to take a good note of it, even for school and even out of school, just to know what kind of like environments you work better in, how you learn, all that sort of stuff there. We're going to go on to learning about the brain, stress, and some sleep here. So, the brain, it's an important tool for all of us, to say the least. Has It keeps all our functions running and it keeps us to be able to study, do work, find solutions. But of course, it also creates our interpretation of reality. And with that, a lot can be stressful or unpleasant, and pleasant, whichever one you want to say. Basically, just want to treat your brain good, make sure that you're feeling good about yourself, and make sure your functions are just staying up. as a lack of sleep and too much stress can really overwhelm the brain and cause things such as memory loss, or it just causes you to procrastinate really bad, where you just end up too stressed to even want to do anything and you kind of shut down. Sleep and being deprived here. Sleep is crucial just because the brain does have toxins, neurotoxins that do build up as you're awake. And then the best way to clear them out is just to get some sleep. These toxins make it harder for you to concentrate, remember things, this and that. It just all starts stacking up, and you get sleepier throughout the day. You lose that concentration, you lose that general functionality of your motor function and everything. And with sleep, it's also really important to get sleep in general, just because you do remember a lot of what you remember does come from when you sleep. When you sleep, it kind of just triggers your brain to go crazy and just start putting things that you learned throughout the day back into the back of your head in a long-term memory during your REM sleep. Uh, we have different types of like memories in any case, short term, long term, and a lot of that between the two. The short term, let's say I just saw like a bird over there and I was like, I decided to tell my friend about it. It's likely that I would forget it because it wasn't very important. But if in a long term memory, let's say I saw that bird and it was like the most majestic thing I've ever seen, and I want to talk to my friend about it, and I really start talking about it a lot with him, then that memory will end up being into the long term, and having that good amount of sleep will really cement that memory and keep it in my head. What else do I talk about in this one? Yeah, no, it basically just keeps our heads free of toxins, and then makes our functionality, overall functionality, whether it's remembering, concentrating, motor functions, moving around, it just makes it better. And it's important to get that good sleep, that 8 hours of sleep. I know that a lot of people do have trouble with sleeping, and me being one of those people as well. There are techniques for everybody, or everybody has their own techniques as well, just to get better sleep. I remember during the class we talked about one, or there was one in the TED Talk where it was this guy making a rhythm for himself at night, a simple rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe, and then it would just help him go to sleep at night. But I linked a video on the presentation. You don't actually have to go to YouTube or change that or anything. And you can go ahead and check that out for yourself. You just click on this link here and you should be good. Alright, that's enough of that. Stress. It's one of those factors that exists with everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're the most confident person in the world or the least confident person in the world. It's just another factor of life, and you know what? That's okay. Being stressed, being worried, that's just a natural part of ourselves. It's just what we evolved to do. It can make things worse, depending on how it is. But throughout, I think our whole lives, we just have to learn to really manage our stress, really understand ourselves, and really learn how to take action against it. Stress can cause bad things, like fight or flight, and during like an exam. Let's say you get a slightly hard question and you're starting to worry a little bit, and you keep spiraling into more stress and stress as your brain decides to keep firing those neurons and activate fight or flight. You just kind of blank out and just want to do a reaction, whether it's just to freeze, or to leave, maybe just to yell out and get frustrated, stuff like that. But there are ways to reduce it. Um, First of all, being prepared and studying. Kind of just, stuff that would make sense if you're taking a test. But other things is just being able, just learning to breathe and learning meditation and calming yourself down physically in person. No matter how prepared you are still going to face some stress, and it's not a bad thing. In fact, that response syndrome that you get from the stress can in fact help you remember some more things in during the test rather than make you forget it. As long as you come prepared, as long as you manage to learn how to relax yourself, that's one of the best things you can do for yourself, especially in college here. Overstimulation from stress can cause a lot of things. Like, let's say you have way too many things going on in your day, right? You really got to start knocking those out, but you're just so stressed that you just don't know how to act. It can cause things such as memory loss. It can cause damage to yourself. So what's best to do in these situations is just to start knocking it out one at a time. Got to figure out what you got to do, how you're going to do it, and when you're going to do it. Just knock them out. Stress is normal. Breathe. You'll be okay. Whether it's a test or real life, that stress is a part of it. That's what a lot of these chapters talked about. And it's okay. Just got to get through it. Some more for what we have learned over the course here. Time management and study skills. Of course, you're going to need some good time management and study skills as college will throw a lot at you. As you can see here, this dog is a visual representation of how I assume a lot of people's first semesters in college go. But you will need these skills and they will make you successful. Time management in one hand. There's a lot of things to do in a day. Of course, everybody has to experience that at some point. If you don't have to worry about a lot of things in a day, good for you. But this can still help either way. A lot of things to do in the day. Big things, small things, little things you do on the side, maybe things you do for fun, things that are actually important like your assignments or feeding your dog. Just things you just got to do. And one of the things that we looked at was it was just a productivity video from class about some rocks and sand and all that.
Getting distracted by little importance.
It's really how you spend your time that affects your time management. And what's the kind of the best thing for this video here is it really demonstrates what it is you can get done in a day. This one is presenting a dude putting in 7 rocks for big things, smaller rocks for important things but not as big, and then sand for just kind of like stuff you do for fun, waste of time, stuff like that. And he's kind of taking it how a lot of people would do it, where he's doing what he likes to do first, whatever, have his fun, do some not so important things but are starting to get important. But then he starts doing the real important things in his day, and then he's not able to get it done because he wasted so much time with that. But as you can see later on, he does the important things, get those out of the way, does the smaller things, gets those out of the way, and then has all the fun he wants, and he's able to get everything done at once. It's just understanding that you have time to get everything done is probably the best thing, just to know, even under like stressful times where you got a lot of assignments to do at once. Really, what it is just you gotta see what's important and do what's important first. Then you can really start knocking out whatever you want right after. That's one of the things I decided to take from the class, and that's been helping me out. I hope it really does help out a lot of people in college.
Getting distracted.
All right, next slide there. Study skills. You do need some study skills. And there are some study skills for everyone that people do prefer, people don't prefer. And it's mainly just reading notes and how to read a textbook and make it faster so you don't have to worry about wasting all your time reading a textbook, because a lot of the information in textbooks you don't need. A lot of the information in presentations or lectures you don't need. But the video by, I forgot what his name was, but this guy here talks about a lot of the methods that you can take, which is like Cornell, flow method. Uh, Let me go look through it. Outline method, Cornell, mind maps. There's different types of ways people study and write down notes, which is going to be crucial. A lot of just simple bullet notes won't really get you anywhere, and writing down everything is not going to be the greatest solution for every single problem you have. Reading through the textbook efficiently, really looking at what's bolded out, what's separated, and what's kind of highlighted throughout the textbook is going to make it a lot more efficient to know what's actually going on in the textbook. And of course, reading through parts of it and being able to summarize it in a note or use any of these methods to really get through and understand what you're reading and what you're talking about, it's going to help out in the long run.
What is the best
Moving on there. Another thing we go over in this class is imposter syndrome and who we really are at the end of the day. Stress really does start building up here in college, and emotions will rise unless you're really on top of it. Understanding ourselves is important, and yet at times it just doesn't seem like it's there, like who we are. And then a lot of the times a lot of people suffer from different things. One of those things being imposter syndrome. One of the activities we did in class was the intersection activities. It really does show a lot of who you are. And maybe you already know, maybe you don't already know. But going over who you are and what really affects you, whether you're of ethnic descent, whether you're male, female, whether you're from a higher class or lower class family. A lot of these things do affect you and how you're what you end up having to deal with. And a lot of these things do affect who we are at the end of the day. And that's one of the important things to really understand when you're going through college. A lot of people don't have these same backgrounds, don't have these same experiences as each other, and it's important to respect each other. And of course, all of that stuff ends up affecting who we are and like our feelings of belonging in college. Accepting who you are and what makes us who we are is beyond important and can even further ourselves past just being who we are, as we can associate ourselves with clubs or get assistances that we may need for who we are and where we came from. Imposter syndrome here is the inability to accept your own success. A lot of people feel this from like maybe they took a quiz, they did great on it, but they just feel like they didn't deserve it, or maybe they just got lucky on that one. And they keep doing that, experiencing that feeling. It's one of those feelings that can overwhelm somebody, whether they are successful or not. Just like being able to accept the fact that you have an ability to do something and accept it is beyond important as not dealing with it and thinking that you're just lucky. It will lead you down a different path and not a great one at that. There is some tests online. I linked one in the presentation here as well. And it just asks a bunch of questions about how you may feel about an experience or when you receive praise and stuff like that. You just answer honestly, and it will show you kind of like a scale of where you're at with how imposter syndrome affects you. Whether you're whether you're just a little bit shy about accepting the fact that you succeeded, or you just outright don't believe that you should be succeeding and that these things shouldn't be happening to you. That's that's what happen. That's what you find out in these types of tests, and that's just what you're gonna find out. But there are ways to fight it, and it's important that if anybody does suffer from imposter syndrome, that you do fight it. With imposter syndrome, you're just, as I said, you're already gonna go down a path where you just don't feel successful, and you may feel a little bit down. What's most important is to accept that you are where you are because you were able to make that happen, whether you succeeded a test, you failed a test, whatever it may be. It's important to know that you're there because of you. And it's important to accept yourself, to forgive yourself for whatever it may be, and just to keep going on. The last couple things we talked about in class would be the growth mindset and LMC supports. LMC provides a lot of supports for the students, ranging from being able to see the transcripts to like providing use of computers and the internet to like talking to counselors to see how they can get to where they need to be, all sorts of stuff, and then how to further ourselves using our own minds here. Let's start with the growth mindset and what mindsets are in general. For a person in education, at least, there's two different mindsets that you typically see, which is a growth mindset and a static mindset. Static mindset means that you don't really you're kind of planted in what you think about. If you say you're not a math person and you genuinely believe that with your heart, then you're just then you end up having the static mindset where you're never going to change from being not a math person. But really, in reality, our own like minds is just kind of does affect how we do. And even if you're not a math person, you can be a math person. That's the whole point of like having a mindset here. The growth mindset in this case would be, even if you're not a math person, you're not a math person yet. It's mainly just being able to flex around and look at things and be able to really grow in the direction that you need to for whatever you need to do. A lot of people will have certain things that they'll feel static on. That's okay, but being able to change that static perspective into a growing perspective where you can allow yourself to change and really allow yourself to grow, that's going to be a massive game changer for a lot of people in college, as people will try to avoid things, not do things. But as soon as you get that flip in mindset, all of a sudden things go from, wow, I really cannot do this, this is impossible, to, wow, this is really tough, but I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm going to figure this out. And then you eventually succeed with that. And then going on to the LMC supports here, there were a lot of supports. These are some screenshots from the LMC like homepage there. Uh, they have a lot of different supports depending on what you need, whether it's like clubs, maybe you're ethnic and you can use some scholarships. They have some stuff where you can find that. Maybe you have some sort of disability, you can find the disability program so that they can help you get into classes and find easier ways of doing things here. They provide a library. There's an LMC library where you can check out books for free and read for free and read some DVDs for free. And they also do provide within that library on the online website a database so you can find research articles and stuff. If you're looking for to do anything like research a topic and do a research report and such like that, you can go to the LMC library database and then be able to search whatever you need without having to go through like some weird sources that Google can sometimes pull up. There's computer labs, there's counseling, there's so many things that you can get support from, that whatever you need is essentially going to be covered while you're here. There's a lot more that there's a lot more supports than I'm talking about. I'm just going over some of the ones that we went over and some of the ones that can really help out for what a generally what can help out for anyone, whether their like Wi-Fi goes down and they need to get an assignment done, they can go to the computer labs, get some work done, use the Wi-Fi there, not have to worry about it. Maybe they need a book, maybe they need an article. They can go find these at the LMC library. A bunch of stuff, whether it's you need help financially, whether you need help with the internet, whether you need help finding like with the research, LMC's got you covered here. I hope this helps anybody out who is watching this video and helps out anybody who needs some advice, or just generally help anybody who needs to get further into college, moving from past this point.